Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. And today, I'm going to be talking about why Donald Trump is slated to win according to the 13 keys to the White House produced by Alan Lichtman in the 1980s, and why it shows Donald Trump is on a clear path to victory. Now, if you guys do enjoy the video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post bell notifications, and follow all socials in the description. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. And so if you look at this, right, this guy has practically been right every single election since 1984, and the only election he technically got wrong was the Al Gore v. Bush election. And you could make the case that he could have a little bit of some wiggle room there because the election was theoretically decided by 538 votes in the state of Florida, because if that would have flipped, Al Gore would have won the election. So the election was basically decided by less than 1,000 votes. And so because of that, I do think that we could give him a little bit of wiggle room for that error. But other than that, he's gotten it right every single time otherwise, and Al Gore theoretically won the popular vote. So you could say, okay, maybe it is, according to this, it says can be translated to accurate popular vote forecasts, except for Donald Trump's victories in 2016 and 2020. So you could theoretically say these are tracked to forecast mostly the popular vote. So even if, okay, he does come out and say Biden does win, it merely means that Biden will more than likely win the popular vote, and not so much Trump is going to lose the election. But we're going to show that regardless of the fact, Trump is actually projected to end up coming out with a victory based out of the keys right now. If we do look at this, you have the 13 keys here. We're going to be going over them one by one so you could see how they went. You can see here all of the previous elections as of right now, going back to 1984 all the way until last election. You can see all of them here. And so the first one is party mandate. After the midterms, the incumbent party holds more seats in the House of U.S. Representatives than it did in the previous midterm elections. This would be listed as false, and I actually have a Google spreadsheet where I do have everything filled in based out of the ones that we know for a fact are going to go almost a certain way. The only one I could basically say that maybe is a little bit, controversial is 8, and we'll get to that in a second. So the first one, is there more U.S. House of Representatives for the Democrats than there were Republicans in the previous midterm? That's incorrect. Democrats in 2018 had 235 seats to the Democrats, or to the Republicans, 200. And so because of that, and then now Republicans actually retook the House since then, so this will be listed as the first false key. And by the way, it says if a incumbent party basically gets 6 or more false, the challenging party wins. Just FYI, by the way. Now here it says for the second key, it is the contest. There is no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. Now you could say, okay, Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson were decent challenges for the most part. I mean, that's the most any incumbent president has gotten a challenge in quite a while. However, they are not big enough of challenges to really be considered for a serious contest. If we don't go down to, over here, you can see in every single election, there has been a quote-unquote no serious contest this entire time. So we could say, okay, well, maybe that is going to, end up playing out better for, Republicans, or for the Democratic Party, that, he's never listed the key as a serious contest. And even though, yes, I do acknowledge there are some contestants for the primary, but Biden is winning it pretty easily. And so as of right now, it is a first true false key, a first true key. The third key is the incumbency factor. Now, we could debate, whether or not this would occur. As of right now, I am going to put it as true because I still expect Biden to be the Democratic nominee as of right now. If this were to be incorrect, the path for Democrats winning the White House is going to be a lot more difficult. If we go to third party, I am also putting this at 0 for I am putting this as a false key. There is going to be a pretty serious third party contest. Kennedy's polling above 15% in some nationwide polling, and I think the rule was that a candidate needs to average like 5% or higher of a national polling aggregate. So, more than likely this will be listed as true. Number 5 it will be false in this key. The next one will be the short-term economy, which is the economy going to be in recession? Now, more than likely, he's probably not going to characterize this as true. I would characterize it as a false key. But also we are still a few months out of the election. We don't know whether or not we're not in a theoretically we're not in a the true definition of a recession. We're technically not in it, and that's what he goes based off of. So because of that, he will probably list this as a true key as well right now, and so I'm leaving it blank for now to be left up to speculation. The sixth key is going to be the long-term economy key. Now you may say, well, okay, Biden's economy much worse than Trump, but what he does is he actually looks at the real per capita economic growth during the term equals or exceeds the mean growth during the previous 2 terms. If you look at this report, it does in fact say that GDP has increased, in 2023 for the most part. And not only that, overall, in the past 20, 30 years, after every administration, the GDP on average has just kept increasing over time, regardless of the president and regardless of circumstances. Now, during the Great Recession and during COVID, Donald Trump, suffered that loss during COVID, and then the Great Recession kind of tanked the Republicans in 2008 for the most part, and that's pretty much why that key went false in 2020. But as of right now, we do not have an event to that extent where the mean is going to be under, and so I think that he is probably going to end up listing this as a true key, but it is still left up to debate. So I am going to leave it blank for now. If you go to number 8, you can see social unrest. This is the one key that I'm like, okay, we'll add it in. I'll decide whether or not it is going to be the case, and I think it is going to be true because he's basically had it, as a perfect, pretty much, all the way until all the way until here. This is the one election where he had it at 0, and I think that in 2024 he is also going to characterize it at 0. If he's going based off the era that, okay, Donald Trump, is causing division and causing all this stuff, and Biden, is the president, and it's going to reflect on 2020, and the social circumstances are going to be, roughly the same. So because of that, I am actually going to put it as a false key for Biden. This is the one that you could say, okay, maybe it's up in the air, that I am going to make the call because I have a feeling he probably will characterize this as false. If he does characterize it as true, that'll be pretty interesting. If he does characterize it as there is no social unrest, because this is just simply not true. He will probably even make the case that the Roe v. Wade decision is probably the reason why the key is false, which would not be really the main reason to even begin with anyways. But if you look at number 9, it is the scandal key. Now, the only reason why I am leaving this, I am leaving it unfazed or unchecked right now. The problem with this guy's predictions is that he is very, very, it's like, it's not, like if you go here, if you look at scandal, the only time he had it as a 0 is after the Lewinsky thing with Bill Clinton. That is the only time that he had this key as a false key for the incumbent party. You could make the case that, okay, maybe Obama, not really. 2008, okay, fine. I guess that's the case. And then here, he also had scandal as a false key because Donald Trump was impeached, which I guess makes sense in a way, but theoretically, if Biden, if he puts this as a true key for Biden, it is going to show his dishonesty as an incumbent or as a election predictor, because you could technically say that, okay, maybe the only reason why you could characterize this as true is because really the main scandal that plagues Biden is really more his son per se, but maybe this prediction only takes into account his person himself, and I think he will probably characterize it as true that the incumbent party has no scandal, but we all know that's incorrect, to be honest. But for now, I am going to leave it blank. And you look at number 10, number 11, these keys, he could characterize them as true, knowing how he is, but I feel like possibly, I mean, he characterized it as a 0 here. So I do think that, okay, maybe he will actually characterize it as a 0 for Biden, which is the foreign and military success one. That is actually, that is number 11. So I do have that one as false. And I am also going to say that he is going to characterize the failure, if there is no failure, as false, because he probably more than likely, I mean, I'm gonna say that his pullout out of Afghanistan was really bad. If he characterizes as true, you will see that he is being very dishonest. But I am for now going to characterize this as a false key. I do think that Biden's pullout of Afghanistan is going to be the big reason why this is going to be a false key, and I don't think Biden has achieved anything major either. I actually overpassed number 7. For 7, I left it blank because the way he deduces policy change is like completely like it's completely ridiculous how he does it. He said that under Donald Trump, that there was he did have it as a policy change here. For second term Obama, he had it as a 0. So that is something interesting. But I think for Biden, he is going to probably put it as maybe false. But it is still left unchecked for now. And so if you go to the last two, you can see incumbent charisma and challenger charisma. He's probably going to put the challenger charisma as a true statement, because what it's basically saying is, okay, is the challenger charisma not charismatic or a national hero? And even though, yes, Donald Trump personally is a charismatic guy, but the way he measures this is based off of national approval ratings, and the only time he actually gave this key to somebody was actually in 1984. This is the only time where he actually gave it to him. He actually put Reagan as a incumbent charisma candidate. And so Biden is definitely not getting this key. 100% he's not getting the key. And if you look at the challenger key, the only time he had it as a false key was in 2008, where basically Obama was considered the charisma. We'll look at the key again, what it says. It says challenger charisma. We go up to it. It says the challenging party is not a charismatic or national hero. Well, technically, so he did actually, yeah. So, he had Obama at a false. So that's interesting. He had Obama as a national hero or a charismatic challenger at the time, which is probably why he gave him the key. That's the only time he's given it to the challenger. And I don't think Donald Trump is really going to make this a 0. So because of that, Biden will probably get this key, but he will not retain this key. And so basically that leaves Biden at 6 false key with only 4 true. And the rule doesn't really apply to true, it applies to the false. And as of right now, it says if you get 6 or more false, you are basically slated to lose re-election. And based out of these, without even some of the, more, controversial picks like the scandal or the long-term economy pick or anything like that, or the policy change pick, he still is slated to lose based off of my analysis. And so if we go to an electoral map, if he is slated to lose, more than likely Trump is going to have to carry the state of North Carolina. He's going to have to carry Wisconsin. He's going to have to carry Georgia and have to carry Pennsylvania in this scenario, looking at electoral trends. So you could say, really, in a hypothetical scenario, you could say based off of the, Alan Lichtman keys, that Trump does have a floor of 280 electoral votes based off of previous trends. Maybe you could say, okay, he's got Michigan already, but based off of electoral trends, you could kind of say maybe Michigan is the one that's up in the air, but maybe based off the 13 keys, his absolute floor to getting the presidency has to be through Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. And that's basically it for this analysis, guys. If you guys disagree with me, please comment on the video. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on that little bell, and follow all socials in the description. And I hope to see you guys another day.